chronological order of the prophecy actually begins, and it ends in verse 6. The apocalyptic sequence is simply stated in 2 verses. Now, I'm also going to read verse 7 to show you how chronological order is broken and a new prophecy begins, because you know Rule 1 simply says that each apocalyptic prophecy has a beginning point in time, has an ending point in time, and the events must occur in their order. And this means that when the chronological order is broken, we have to start a new prophecy. I'm going to show you that verse 7 starts a new prophecy. So the second thing I want you to notice is that as we go through these 2 prophecies, I want you to observe that we are studying a drama that specifically concerns Lucifer's hatred for Christ and Christianity. I want you to notice this specific focus of Lucifer's hatred for Christ and Christianity. I want you to notice that from its beginning, Christianity has been especially hated by Lucifer. Okay, let's begin with Revelation 12:1, and remember, these verses are commentary. John writes, "A great and wondrous sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and a crown of 12 stars on her head. She was pregnant and cried out in pain as she was about to give birth." All right? So we know the woman is pregnant. She's ready to deliver. At the same time, verse 3, John says, "Then another sign appeared in heaven." This is a cosmic representation, if you will, a cosmic drama. He saw an enormous red dragon with 7 heads and 10 horns, and the 7 crowns are on the 7 heads. I'll talk more about that later. Verse 4, he goes on to describe the great red dragon by saying his tail swept a third of the stars out of the sky and flung them to the earth. This sentence tells us that when Lucifer was cast out of heaven in the beginning with his angels, before sin began on earth, before Adam and Eve sinned, this is the verse that tells us that a third of the angels were flung out of heaven with him. So this is commentary about the devil and how clever and how influential and how powerful he really is. And the dragon stood in front of the woman who was about to give birth so that he might devour her child the moment it was born. Okay. Commentary, verses 1 through 4. Now let's look at the apocalyptic sequence. Revelation 12, verse 5. The woman gave birth to a son, a male child, who will rule all the nations with an iron scepter. And her child was snatched up to God and to his throne. Well, we know that that has to be Jesus Christ, because he is the one who will rule all nations with an iron scepter. Verse 6, the woman fled into the desert to a place prepared for her by God, where she might be taken care of for 1,260 days. So here's the chronological sequence. There's the beginning point in time. The woman is in pain, ready to be delivered, and the dragon is standing in front of her, ready to devour her child the moment it is born. So that would put the chronological sequence as a beginning point in time at 4 BC. This is the year Jesus is born. The woman gives birth. The dragon tries to kill baby Jesus the moment he's born. Jesus then is snatched up to God and to his throne, and the woman flees to the desert for 1,260 days. You see the chronological order. Beginning point in time, ending point in time. We start in 4 BC and we end in 1798. 1,800 years in these two verses, in this chronological sequence. According to Rule 4, remember Rule 4 is the rule that tells us how God measures time. The 1,260 days in Revelation 12:6 are to be translated as 1,260 years because they occur while the Jubilee calendar is operating. We learned in our study on Daniel 7 that this 1,260-year time period, day-year time period, it began in 538 AD and it ended in 1798. And to eliminate any confusion, this same time period is mentioned a third time in Revelation 12:14 as a time, times, and half a time. So during this 1,260 years, the devil, utilizing the powers of church and state, attempted to destroy the woman by wearing out the saints of the Most High. Let me take you to a little artwork here. In the book of Daniel, you may recall how we studied the rise of, in Daniel 7, there were 4 beasts. There was the lion, there was the leopard, there was the bear, and then there was the 4th beast, the monster beast. 4 beasts representing 4 world empires. And out of this 4th beast came a little horn, and this little horn had eyes and a mouth, and it spoke boastfully, and it was predicted that it would war against the saints and persecute them for a time, times, and half a time, which adds up to 1,260 years. This is because the Jubilee calendar is still operating. Jubilee calendar began in 1437 and operates down to 1994. So during this time period, ending in 1798, the little horn power, namely the Roman Catholic Church, persecuted the saints of God for a time, times, and half a time. This is Daniel 7. Well, Revelation comes along. Let me get a different color ink pen here. Revelation comes along, and since this is 538, Revelation comes along, and we're going to start here about 4 BC. Rome comes to power in 168 BC. So we're approximately 160 years later, and so the little horn power comes, you see, as a result of Christianity growing and becoming apostate, and the Church of Rome rising and then taking power for 1,260 years over the kings of Europe. And the power of the church is not broken until 1798 in the French Revolution. My point is that what is told in Daniel 7 is then repeated here in Revelation 12, so that we have alignment in 3 prophecies. Here's the prophecy of Revelation 12, 1 through 6, and here's the prophecy of Revelation 12, verse 7, through 14, verse 5. So this same time period is mentioned 3 different times, because God wants to make it clear. He wants us to fully understand the demonic force that is involved here. And the devil persecutes the church for God's people, 1,260 years, and then guess what? He's going to do it again. This happens during the appointed time of wrath. Let me zoom in a little bit here. This is the time period of the Great Tribulation, and you've seen this chart before, but basically during the time period of the 7 trumpets, the devil is going to war against the saints for 1,260 days, just like he did the 12